Hello, my peeps. Hi, it's Monica, also known as Sleeved After 60, and it's Sunday night, the 30th of October, 2016. Just a little informational background. I'm 63 years old. I am in the process of waiting to be approved for surgery. I think I see the psychologist December 19th, and I'm 5'4", and this morning I weighed in at 223. So if you're new to my channel, I often talk about the fact that I went to treatment for my eating disorder, for binge eating disorder, about 8 years ago. And I continue to see my therapist from the program, the Twin Cities. And so I pretty much continue to work on issues having to do with binge eating, with just my relationship with food. And I do believe that it's an eating disorder. I'm not here to diagnose anybody else. That's my belief. So today I've been thinking about sharing this information for a really, really long time, and I just didn't know exactly how to go about doing it. The title of today's video is How to Nurture, or Nurturing. You each have your own story. Nurturing the little fat girl within. And it's my belief that for me, and perhaps some of you listening and watching, it's my belief that there is a component of the eating disorder that has to do with childhood trauma, whatever that may be. And by trauma, different people have different traumas, so it doesn't necessarily have to be that you were or physically or sexually abused. Obviously that's trauma, but it could be something as simple as moving, or having other siblings be born, or parents divorcing, or whatever that trauma may be, that a lot of us start to eat to, first of all, to deal with the anxiety of what's going on, to sort of suffocate those feelings, and to cope and to deal. So part of my treatment, and I don't want to get too bogged down with it. If you've watched other of my videos, you know that I'm a mental health professional. I'm a retired mental health professional, and so my point of view comes from a very, clinical point of view. But anyway, and I believe it and I live it. So I've been in therapy for most of my adult life. So I've been in therapy off and on for the last 40 years. And my belief in therapy is that it has to do with personal growth, and that if you're lucky enough to either be able to afford it or to have good enough insurance that covers, then, that's just something addition to whether it's working out, eating well, and all that for mental and physical good health. So I've taken advantage of being able to have therapy available to me, and through different decades of my life, when different life development stages, I've had help. Anyway, back to the child within. So in my own recollection, I remember not my introduction, but sort of my beginning of binge eating when my parents were having a really difficult time in their marriage, and I was about 8 or 9. And as an adult, I'm really anxious about sharing this for some reason, and I apologize. So anyway, so my parents were having a difficult time in their marriage, and I remember as an 8-year-old being very aware of what was going on. And I remember sort of running an errand and buying candy and sort of eating it and having shame and having anxiety over doing that. So that's kind of where it started. But one of the things that I've been able to do through therapy, and especially through eating disorder, I can't think of the word. I'm sorry, I forgot it right now. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm this anxious. Part of my treatment, I have gone back to sort of figure a lot of the issues with just the actual eating disorder. And part of what I've done is to figure out a way of helping and nurturing the child within. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And I'm hoping that others will talk about, their child within and how they nurture that child, or if not. So one of the things that I have this visual that I've been able to develop, and my visual, how I set it up, is that adult me, and my adult me is a heavy set me, which is okay, very gray haired. And in the winter, as you all know, I live in Minnesota, but in the winter, I tend to, because I'm always hot, I tend to wear big wraps instead of coats, just because I do. So my vision in my mind's eye is me with this sort of gray hair sort of blowing, and I'm usually in Central Park, and I usually sit at a bench in Central Park with a very young Monica. And many times it's just self-talk, right? It's self-talk. But it's self-talk to the child in me. And it's been really, really helpful for me, because I know that a lot of times when I'm anxious, when I'm scared, when I do that, it really helps me work things out, because excuse me, oh my God. Because it's the adult me with all the insight that I have, but it's also nurturing that part of me that needs nurturing and didn't get it. And if my mother is watching this, which so far so good, she doesn't know that I do this, Mom, this is not your fault. I give you my word, this is not your fault. It could have been anything else. Please, don't take this personally. And I know you will, and we'll have to talk. But anyhow, so some of the things that I've said through the years that have been really, really helpful, having to do with just some of the anxiety or things that were going on. And one of the things that when I'm sitting on the park bench in Central Park in the fall with little Monica, one of the things that I try really hard to talk about is how, let me see, I have some notes that I try to share, to encourage that it's not, little Monica's job to take care of adults, that it's also not little Monica's fault when things are going on. Adults sometimes make bad decisions. And then I've also gone just a little bit older, and probably around early adolescence, which is when I started to gain weight. So I was probably like 13. And then I talk about dieting, and I've said this before about just being that mentor to my inner child, of just saying how diets don't work. You know, you're beautiful as you are. And I didn't have a dad that tended to do that. That's just not who he was. And he was not, he would have never said, "You're a beautiful little girl." That's just not who he was. And I'm not sure that, you know, Italians do that with their daughters. I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. I take that back, because who knows what Italians do that are not in my family. But anyway, so I have done that about, you know, you're the prettiest girl in New York. And the other thing is to just talk about how you will be loved. Because as I'm sure a lot of you have experienced, that it's such a horrible thing, horrible experience when you're sort of early adolescence, of feeling that nobody's ever going to love you, that you're, you know, nobody's ever going to kiss you, nobody's ever going to have a relationship with you. And I talk about that. And also about your worth is not determined by the scale. And, you know, I think I may have mentioned this before, that when I was a teenager, when I was in high school, I had one summer I had a goal of being under 120 pounds. I'm 5'4", and I got down to 118 pounds, and it probably almost killed me, because of course it was, you know, I was doing a lot of crazy dieting. But I've had that conversation with, you know, my inner child about how you don't need to be under 120 pounds, you know. And the other thing is to just talk about how that most of the people that have been mean, they will mean nothing to you. You won't even remember their names. But that some things that are said that are mean, you'll remember forever. And those people aren't important. Your life is. And the most important thing is about you will be loved. You will be loved. You will be loved. And I think I wrote something. I wrote this down a while ago, you know, saying to my inner child, you will be loved. You will be adored. You will be cherished, and by more than one person, and most likely more than one man. So I think I'm going to stop here, because I'm kind of getting kind of emotional about this. If this helps you, drop me a note, or do your own video about talking to yourself. I've said this before about kindness and grace. Kindness and grace. I honestly work really hard on that, of just being kind to myself, because I have abused my body for so many years, just trying to be thin and losing and gaining, and the worthlessness and all that stuff. And all I needed was to just be kinder to myself. And that number on the scale, I would really like to be at a better weight, because I know I'll be much healthier and happier, and I'll live longer. But I refuse to not be kind to myself. So I hope you take from this what you need, and I will see you all soon. Besos. Thank you.